The army officially went on the ground in all Syria and started to basically demolish cities and villages and bombing. We had some, huge missiles going from the south to the north and everything. So if you ask me about how does it feel, this one was unique actually because we're not fighting an enemy. I mean, the people are not fighting an enemy, and the regime itself are not fighting any other countries or other ethnicity or anything. It's just all within.
Welcome to One in Tribe. I am your host, Julie Fidalgo, and today I have Khaled Bakkora with me. Khaled is a Syrian-born creative whose journey has been shaped by resilience, reinvention, and a relentless pursuit of meaning. Growing up in a challenging cultural environment and enduring the devastating impact of the Syrian war, Khaled lost nearly everything for over 6 years. Forced to rebuild his life from the ground up, he began a new chapter abroad. His life is a daily exercise in transformation, navigating deep personal trauma while embracing growth, healing, and creativity. Khaled lives between contrasting worlds, constantly striving to balance emotional recovery with productivity, beauty with pain, and ambition with introspect. His story is not one of loss, but remarkable renewal. Welcome, Khaled, to One in Tribe.
Thank you very much for having me. Beautiful start.
Yes, I love it. So powerful. I always like to start at the very beginning, but before we go there, I'd like you to describe yourself in 3 words.
Oh, okay. I think I'm funny, first of all. This is funny to be around, and energetic, and consistent on what I want to do. Yeah, I don't give up easily.
Okay, I love it. Thank you. Well, let's start at the beginning, which is where I start with all of my guests. Tell me a little bit about where you were born and what your childhood was like.
All right. So basically, I was born in 1988 in Syria, a city near the capital, Damascus, Damascus suburb. It's like 20 to 30 kilometers. It's basically attached to the capital, connected to it. And the environment was in that city a bit more of the conservative, I can say, more than the capital itself. Very family oriented. And I can remember since I was able to see around myself, I can remember that environment from an economical perspective. It was tough. I think we were in Syria under sanctions from US and Europe, so that affected us in terms of economy, in terms of products or even services available in the country in general. And living in the suburb, it was a bit more than, again, other major cities like Damascus and Aleppo. So we really felt that. At the same time, of course, like a childhood, it was, nothing was really normal for me, if I want to compare in general. So I was in school, of course, but I was working in a very young age to support my family. As far as I remember, I think starting from the 5th grade even. So my dad had a grocery shop, simple one. So I started to work with them as a worker, official worker with duty and everything. And sometimes I leave my school uniform on me, so I just drop the bag with the books and then continue working until night. And then I started to actually have different jobs, just to try to help my family. We were not poor, but it was not really comfortable in general. We were not having most of the basics, I would say. We had a house, we had this shop, but it was very simple kind of life. We waited a long time to get a TV, for example, and then to get this satellite multi-channels, like another 10 years, where other people could afford it fast. We never had a car, for example. It was more than a dream. So my childhood was, again, between going to school and trying to be consistent, because the challenge for kids around that time, like late 80s and starting the 90s in my city, was like immediately, if you're not living in a comfortable life within, I mean, your family in terms of, again, economy and money. So it was very common for the family to ask the kid to drop off the school and go start generating money in any way, or at least helping the family, because most of the businesses were family oriented. So I started to feel, I think, the struggle between, I want to continue, not that I was like super smart at school or anything, but I was above average. I mean, just a regular kid, but I was passing all the time with good grades, just moving on. And I had to finally leave school in the 10th grade, I think, for the same reason, like I had to help my family get more kind of income, no matter how small it is. But I didn't want, I mean, I was kind of forced to, not from my family, from the circumstances, because I was like, a bit more of a teenager now. So I understood more responsibility and so I took that hard decision. But then I came back after 2 years to finish the high school. But in general, I can say it was, in terms of safety, it was safe, but yeah, economically challenging for me, my family, my environment, and a bit of, I can say, a lockdown, if you want. I mean, not the sense of geographical, but lockdown of a certain, even politically, like it was very, before the internet, before multiple TV channels and everything, we had just like 3 newspapers, 2 TV channels. I don't want to exaggerate, but I always refer to North Korea kind of stuff, but not to that extreme. But we were actually living in that, especially when I got a chance, when I'm a teenager, to visit Lebanon, which is just 2 hours away from Damascus. And I saw the contrast. It was insane. I mean, like we never saw before, like this chocolate, Snickers and Twix and all of these brands, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, those were from another world, for example. So we could tell immediately, the cars, even economically, Lebanon was not at that time better than Syria. I'm guessing if we go back to numbers and statistics on economy, Syria was better because it's bigger and has more natural resources. But I mean, in terms of, again, sanctions and the leadership back then in Syria and all that, we were limited on many different levels.
And what year are you talking about when you said, for example, that you went to Lebanon and you saw products that you hadn't seen?
Around 2000, actually. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly 2000, yeah.
When did the war begin? I'm not trying to make this, by the way. We want to keep this also uppity, so I know that, and especially like, you said your first thing is funny, and I want to get into that because I think I've interviewed other people that have gone through war, and they use comedy as a form to survive, to deal with all of that. So I do want to get into that. But yeah, when did the war begin?
The war started officially 2011, like, following the Arabic Spring in the region, as you know, like started with Tunisia, then followed by Egypt. Something happened in Sudan, then Yemen, Syria, of course. So 2011 March, almost middle of March. Some Syrians still, they debate on, few days between, like, is it 15, is it 10, because of different cities. But yeah, it was not a war, of course, from the beginning. It was, again, part of Arabic Spring, and I saw that with my own eyes with different cities. So just people going out, protesting. But then the regime reacted really aggressively, more than any other countries that I just mentioned. It was more of aggression and revenge, because we have a lot of ethnicities there, more than, I mean, for example, Egypt and Tunisia, different levels, different religions, parties, all that. So everyone was, I think, extra scared. And because of the dictatorship was too much, so also the regime itself reacted in a very, fight or flight kind of thing. And it started from there, but it got complicated. I mean, way more complicated over the years. Some people, they call it civil war. Some people, they call it revolution. Some people, they call it, different names. It was definitely a revolution in the beginning, for a few months, if not few years. But again, different areas had different parties around. But eventually, after a few years, we've seen how Russia, Iran, different countries were, having troops on the ground or influence or supporting different groups. So as Syrian, we actually didn't know who's fighting who. It was like mayhem kind of for a lot of years. And then this led, obviously, after only 1.5 to 2 years from starting the war, this led to a massive migration. If you remember the boats and the horrible deaths on in the sea and the oceans, fleeing to Europe and other places. And then, that was like waves. But yeah, we can say as a start, again, it started very clear, people just following the wave of the Arabic Spring. And then that happened, the reaction.
Khaled, most people can't imagine what it's like to be living in a country where there's war. How would you describe it?
I think the closest term to it, as simple as possible, is really hell. In how can we imagine it? I mean, this is the common term between all cultures, and I mean hell, which means the extreme. And I can say also, to be fair, that different cities suffered from different levels of this war. So we got different cities that joined this revolution or the war, or we can call it whatever we want, later, like after 2 years or 3 years. So in these 2 years, they were suffering from economical effect of this war, but there was no destruction or killing massively like the other cities who actually started this. And to me, my city was really like started 2 weeks after, because it started in the south, in Daraa, and some in Damascus, and then after 2 weeks, my city just started, and we were talking about almost 500,000 population, my city. So, and this gave like a red alarm to the regime because of the geographical location. The city is very close to the capital, so they reacted more aggressively than even other cities. They wanted to just kill this riots or protesters, and then not to give them access to the capital. So immediately was like multiple troops, intelligence, secret police, and then later on, slowly, we started to see army, soldiers, and then tanks and airplanes, barrels, and starting from 2012, especially I can remember officially the army joined this conflict in, if I remember correctly, in August 2012. So almost after a year and few months, the army officially went on the ground in all Syria and started to basically demolish cities and villages and bombing. We had some, huge missiles going from the south to the north and everything. So if you ask me about how does it feel, this one was unique actually, because we're not fighting an enemy. I mean, the people are not fighting an enemy, and the regime itself are not fighting any other countries or other ethnicity or anything. It's just all within. So as you know, every family might have one soldier serving in the army. And also vice versa, the soldiers who are actually, let's say, or the officers bombing these different cities, they have families living there. It's their families, their brothers, so it was that kind of a hell emotionally and psychologically, more than the actual physical fight or the killing itself. A lot of families split it out. I mean, they were not talking to each other anymore, or took different political parts or opinions. All small minorities started to clatter, by themselves in small villages, being afraid, and that's understandable, of course. So this tension started to grow and grow, and with the arrival of more extremist, groups, which took the whole situation to another horrible level. And then it was just descending to madness, I would say, from there. More fear, more killing, more torture, I can't really summarize it, because a lot of things happened. And what I was thinking about when I was there for the first 2 years, because after that I managed to get out, but as I was there 2011 and 2012, but I was always watching the news and saying to my friends or family, like, this is less than maybe 10 to 20% of what's actually happening on the ground, what's being published. And especially on the Western media, that was way less and portrayed in a very careful manner, I would say, because it seems that they didn't take decisions. I mean, the European Union or the UN, some just press conferences or something, like, we condemn and we ask all parties to be calm and all that and find a solution or political. But what's happening on the ground was actually really, really awful. And that is because of 50 years of holding from the people and from the regime itself. And the regime didn't expect that at all, because they were, applying fear and dictatorship to the max. So they couldn't even grasp the idea of the people being able to be brave or do something on that scale. And the people were oppressed for 50 years, not knowing anything about it. This gave them more kind of motivation, like, this is the only opportunity we will ever have to ride this wave of Arabic Spring, and we can. So there was, like, major escalation from every part, I would say.
You mentioned in the bio that you lost everything. And then we're going to change this up to you getting out and your life since. But can you talk a little bit about that?
So basically, first thing first, I was about to graduate. I was just working on my graduation project. I lost that completely because we were under siege. We couldn't get out to the capital, and they stopped everything. I was just one project away from graduating. And again, referring to my background, as I said in the beginning, the education was very, very important thing for me to be able to do something or to get the basics, really. So that was for me very bad as the first thing. And then, of course, since my city started also from the beginning, so I lost a lot of friends who got killed in a very awful manners, like young and people from school, and I lost many family members, close and then a little bit. And people, even they were kids, from kids to grandma level, because the killing was like a mass kind of thing. We're dropping barrels, and again, airplanes. Imagine airplanes just bombing cities, so all building will disappear literally in seconds. And then what got worse is that early 2012, we had a chemical attack on my city specifically, which not many cities actually experienced that. And in this attack was like almost 1,200 people got killed in like few minutes. No blood,
This is,
nothing. Yeah. Yeah.
sorry, this is the government putting
Yep.
chemical attacks on their
Yep.
own people?
I mean,
Okay,
so
sorry.
you can see that level of. I mean, we never knew that we have something like this. So it's just it was sarin gas. I remember, and then all people panicking, going to basements, if any, and then finding out after a few days that people who managed to go to a basement who actually died first because of the gas staying on a lower level, so they should be able to go up, but nobody knows about it. They don't have shelters. They don't. I mean, nothing at all. They were, imagine people not expecting to be bombed with gas. They can't see it. They can't smell it, and they were just fuming and dying slowly. And if you look it up, I think the New York Times published this, and there was a major political movement and media coverage because that was horrific. I mean, to everybody. And of course, the regime back then denied this, and until the last moment, they deny everything. But I mean, who has chemical weapons in Syria? People were not allowed to carry a knife back then. So that was one of the most horrible, I mean, things to see that level. That this is more than death. This is. I mean, again, in the Western media, and something they always refer to the Nazi, regime being able to be that kind of criminal. So imagine this happened on babies, and the photos were horrific. Like kids and babies being wrapped after they die, like candies. So that was very, very bad, especially on my city. And then the chemical attacks happened after a few years in different cities, but nothing on that scale, like what happened in my city, Damascus suburb. And then started again, always something new, like new bombs, new rockets, and again, everything is a city. I mean, yes, there was rebels or people with arms. Slowly, people started to arm themselves, of course. But no matter what they had, I mean, no airplanes, no tanks. It's just people, Kalashnikov and some maybe mid-sized weapon or something, but there was no comparison or excuse. It's like, imagine if someone in New York, let's call them a terrorist in New York, and they went into a massive tower, and then the government will be like dropping barrels on this tower and just killing like thousands of people just because two people are there, or 10 or 20. But I mean, everyone knew who was responsible. Even the UN, they did an investigation on that chemical weapon attack specifically, and they were politically careful for a few years, but then they announced that they tested the soil and everything, and this is 100% from the regime. But again, it was too late. Nobody cared. It was frequent. And I remember Obama back then was threatening with an attack, so they made a deal to dismantle the chemical weapons under Russia supervision. I mean, it's like it's like somebody's coming to my house and killing me and my family, let's say, with a simple gun, right? And then instead of putting this guy in jail or doing something about him or her, I mean, they just simply say, okay, give us the weapon and we'll be fine. Something like this. And the worst part is the weapon was not given away, because after this deal, 2 years, another attack in the north, chemical weapon in Khan Sheikhoun, if I remember correctly. Yeah. The same thing happened, which means they did not dismantle anything. It's all just lying. And then, hell broke loose from there, because the regime saw that nobody cared around the world, more than media materials. So they started to be more comfortable with massive killing or finding new ways. And this is where the barrels were invented, unfortunately, which is a very horrible way. I mean, just basic barrels being dropped from helicopter without coordinates, without any, just dropping it on civilians. So 2 barrels will be able to wipe out like few buildings. We're talking 4 or 5 floors, in seconds.
Did you say barrels?
Barrels, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I'm not familiar.
basically, yeah, the regular barrel, the barrel. So they will put leftovers of dynamites and plastic. Anything can actually not destroy, just hurt more. Explosive and nails and something crazy, just to make it as and it's until now it's on YouTube. You can see some soldiers just dropping it with their, randomly from helicopters. I mean, the sound itself kills the people. So imagine the massive destruction happened, and this was used on all cities, not only, of course, my city.
Okay, I think we need
Yep.
to change the energy here. You
Okay.
finally got out.
Yes.
How did you get out?
Yeah, that was, I mean, going out was also not easy because, especially for me, I lost connection with my family for few months when I was in Syria. So I had to flee to Damascus, and I stayed there where my city was under siege. So I couldn't go back. I was sleeping in the streets, gardens, and so on. And in Damascus, again, the security level was extreme because of, this is the capital, the center of the government. So I was also afraid to being captured just because on my ID I was from that city. So that happened a lot, and the people just disappear simply just because they are from this city. So that was a struggle for a few months. And then when I'm trying just to find a way, how do I go out? Like, do I go out illegally? If I go out illegally to Lebanon or up north to Turkey, there was like a business, a huge amount of money being made because of moving people, trafficking people outside. It's a huge business, especially to Europe or Turkey or to Lebanon and to Jordan. So for me, of course, no money, no connection, nothing at all. I just had some friends in Damascus. So I was trying to kind of stay alive and then check what's happening with my family, who, they were inside the city. And of course, at that time, the major siege started at the city. So no water, no food, no electricity, nothing comes out, nothing goes in. So I lost connection completely with them. And then I found a way to get to the UAE, of course, legally. I had my passport, everything is fine. And I actually faced these uncomfortable situations until the end. So I was going like by land, driving from Syria to Lebanon, taking taxi, everything is fine. And then the last checkpoint, the road was filled with military checkpoints, and again, killing people on checkpoints or making them disappear was just like as easy as drinking water, nothing at all. People disappear, no IDs, nobody cares at all. So they stopped me actually at the last checkpoint, just like 5 kilometers before Lebanon, and they took me out from the taxi. They stripped me completely just because I'm from that city. And then something happened like around, I heard like gunfire and all that. So apparently there was like a nearby battle going somewhere, the rebels attacking this checkpoint. So this few seconds made me survive actually, because otherwise I will be there. I mean, God knows how much time, if alive. So they panicked. I mean, the soldiers and all that, because of the gunshot next to them, and they armed themselves quickly, and all this movement started to get more intense. And then I was just running towards the borders to find another taxi where I just left the country. It was very emotional. I mean, to just cross the border, walking, and then seeing everything behind, maybe for the last time. Until now, I didn't come back, not even for a visit. So it's been like 13 years, I guess, if not 14. And I knew that I might not come back, because I knew the regime, how much stubborn and aggressive it was. I never thought at all like in a million years that regime could change or fall at all. And then crossing again the borders, I left my family there, whoever alive left of them, with no connection. They don't know that I left the country. They don't know anything about me. If I'm alive, I'm dead. And another struggle started from there when I started again to see the contrast. I flew to UAE, and with my jeans and t-shirt only, I had around $70, if I remember, in my pocket. That's it, 50 and 20. I had really nothing at all. I don't know where I'm going. I just had one of my best friends living in UAE, so I stayed with him for a while, and then I started to try to understand, like, okay, I can actually start again, or like forget about my education, forget about my whatever career, family, friends, nothing. I'm just here, and I have to cope with a very new environment, which is, again, the contrast you mentioned at the beginning. In the UAE, it's extremely safe, it's extremely luxurious and beautiful, and everything is awesome. So for me, that was like a shock. Immediately, for a few days, I couldn't go out. I couldn't understand that, buildings beautiful, no destruction, nobody wants to kill anybody. It took some time for me to, and the worst part was the news coming from Syria was getting worse and worse. More crimes, more massacres. So me not knowing what's happening to my family, I stayed like this for a few years, like five years, almost, or 6 years, being in UAE, and had no idea about I just hear like very random news. I had to go to some Facebook pages, which they publish who died today in that city and the other city. So every day before I sleep, I just open the phone and refresh the page, and I read the list of names. And in that seconds, once I'm refreshing, I remember that feeling a lot, that I just say in my mind, I hope I don't find my family name here or something. So that was every single night. So the amount of stress or the panic or the fear, the sadness, it was insane. And this is how I actually found out later on. My uncle, the brother of my father, just died in a horrible way. I saw his pictures and name one of these nights, and then another uncle died, and then a grandma, and all like rockets and pieces, and those are like a close family members, and I mean, it was insane. And then I learned about different cousins. They were babies when I left Syria, and now they are like 4 or 5 years old. They died also in a horrible way. Entire families being wiped out completely. One of my best friends, we consider them a family, and just living next door. And he managed to go out like I did, and but to another country. And then he's just one time when I was refreshing, and I read the names of his entire family, like 12 members. His mom, 2 sisters, their husbands, their kids, and his auntie. That's my friend in school, which is again next to us. I mean, the entire building, 3 floors, you have like 3 families, 12 people, all of them. He lost them completely. So also to me, I mean, my story is nothing compared to him in losing family members, I guess. And I have no idea how he can cope or understand that loss. Like, it's just insane. And I know them one by one, of course. Yeah.
Your parents are still in Syria?
Yep. Yeah.
They are? Okay.
Yep.
And you're in
Yeah.
touch with them?
Yes, I got in touch with them after something happened on the ground in 2019, where this siege broke, where the rebels lost that city to the Russian and to the government. And then there was a deal kind of thing where I had to deal with another traumas, my brothers being forced to move to the north, like a demographical change. So anybody was like from 16 years old to 45 had to leave the city. So they kept only the elderly and the young kids, because they don't want any kind of resistance. This is after, again, the chemical weapons, the barrels, after 6 years of siege, where I started to see my family as like pictures for the first time. And I collapsed then completely because I couldn't believe like my father or my mother would look like this. I mean, they were living in basements. I started to hear all the stories, and it was more horrible than I anticipated. Yeah, so I got touched with them, but I couldn't actually find a way to talk to them. Like, what do we talk about? Or, I mean, I felt like they're an alien, or I'm the alien. Like, we don't have anything in common now. It's been like 6, 7 years apart. I'm completely in a different world, and they are also, like suffering something unimaginable, really. Um, and then when I saw their faces, especially my parents, this killed me, really. This is more than barrels, more than chemical weapons, more than anything I've seen. But seeing my parents in that shape, and the wrinkles, the eyes, how much weight they lost, they were completely like, I cannot describe. I mean, really, it was just, I never expected this. To me, it was worse than death, really, seeing them. And even the psychological effect, people living in basements and being bombed, starved to death uh, for years. I mean, not months or weeks, 6, 7 years. And they started to uh, explain some of it, where I can't also stop them from talking about it, of course, because they have nothing else to talk about, of course. But just listening how they manage to eat animals, dead animals, because there is nothing, or eat from the trees, leaves, and I mean, it's unbelievable, really. It's and they had they managed to get some videos. Of course, no internet, nothing to publish, but I mean, they recorded with whatever they had to keep it for later. And again, many things are still on YouTube. Eating from the garbage, or drinking from sewage or something for years. So we're past, diseases or hunger or something is really more than a torture. And then, yeah, after 2019, I got back in touch with them, like my parents. But again, my two brothers were forced to relocate to the north, so that was another struggle, finding them. Are they alive? Which city they are in? And the north was a bit more risky because we had ISIS, we had different radical groups there. So I was very scared of them being recruited because they're alone without parents. They're very young teenagers. And I was so afraid, and they got kidnapped many times just because of they're working in a street, or they're from that city, different parties, not even only the army. And my parents are really stressed about them all the time, obviously. And I'm stressed about them. And it's just, I mean, it never stopped when I left. So I had to struggle building my life here alone to be able to support them emotionally, financially, mentally. And it was really difficult to manage all these different parts. My sister also had to leave to Saudi Arabia from the beginning. And so nobody met anybody for 13, 14 years. It kept piling up. Yeah.
Sometimes there are no words to say. Like it's so unfathomable what yourself and what so many people go through. So I really have a loss for words. But now you're in Dubai.
Yes.
You've been in Dubai for 12 years.
Yes, Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Yeah.
Dubai and Abu
Between, yeah.
Dhabi. And you're a photographer.
Yeah, I mean, on the side, this is part of, again, the healing, I guess. Part of the healing, because when I reached here, because again, I lost my education, and I had no money, no support, nothing at all. And on top of that, as I mentioned, I had to generate money so I can support them. But since Dubai and the UAE are very law driven, so that give me difficulty, just find a regular job or something. So, and the competition here is really high because they always attract the elite in every field, especially my field, which is marketing or digital or technology, all that. So I struggled to compete because even my English was not good at all when I reached here. So I had to build everything as a newborn person. Like, here's another chance. Let's see what happens. So I had really two choices. I guess I thought about them all the time for a few years, either to collapse and be a loser, understandably, like, which is like, I've seen what I've seen. I felt what I felt. I lost what I lost. So naturally, the human feels like I don't have to do anything now. I survived and I just lost my whatever, like you go to this dark kind of place where you be like lazy or demotivated to do anything, or the other way, which is like, no, fight or stand up again, do something. This is another chance. I can't believe that I'm alive. Even every day when I drive my car, just like almost every day, it's like, oh my God, is this a simulation, or is that like how this is not possible? Like every day it's keep happening. And so I took it from, there was, of course, a massive struggle and fight mentally, even emotionally. And of course, physically, this affected me for a long time. I lost weight. I couldn't eat for a long time. Major depression, PTSD, you name it. I mean, even some specialists couldn't diagnose it with the name, because most of them, they don't know what happened, like, in detail. They think it's one trauma or one event or one bombing or one losing. So they couldn't, put their finger on it, like, what is it exactly, so they can treat or they can talk. And the most ironic thing, that they were scared because I was talking exactly like I'm talking to you. I have a job, I have a good visa. When I started to build up my life slowly, so they were kind of like, either this guy is lying or you're really something. Yeah, they couldn't believe. And I can remember many specialists like exactly like you said, like, there's no words, not because of what you've seen or experienced, but because the fact that you're putting a leg over another and there's just talking and laughing about it. Of course, there was many funny moments in the war. I mean, the dark humor, but we will need hours to talk about them. So yeah, that was a continuous struggle. But for photography, going back to your question, I was into it, I think, psychologically, to visualize. I needed, after all this intake, this is what I learned, or I think after years from healing, from progressing in life, I think this photography thing came to my mind as a way of releasing emotions, I would say, or releasing or expressing feelings, maybe. As you know, anybody who's like traumatized or been through a lot of things, or maybe one thing, they will have this like a channeling part of like, I want to write a lot, or I want to draw, to paint, to sing, or whatever. So for me, it was photography. I'm a very visual person. And I started also to do that commercially to be able to generate another income. So, I had to learn photography as the professional one. Mind you, again, the competition in this country, which is the elite and everything. So if you want a photographer, you have to compete with a zillion very, very, very good professional photographers on all levels. So I had to also compete on that level and then go back to my education, whatever I lost, start from the beginning. I finished my diploma here after a few years, the one I lost in Syria. And then I got excited and I started a master degree, which I was a bit old to do that because all my colleagues were way younger than me. But I said, okay, why not? And I got the master in business and communication. And so I was working on different fronts, like education. It's not just I want to take revenge and get back what I lost, but no, I want to do better. So not just finishing the diploma, I want to get a master. And soon I'm going to do a PhD, hopefully. This is
you.
it, teasing news. And then for photography, the same. I had to generate money, but then I ended up being more interested in art photography. Just not commercially. After I kind of master, so I'm giving training courses to government, to companies, to people about photography, and then I got published around the world with many different art projects in many different exhibitions. I got awarded also in many occasions, get published in news, TV shows, or locally here in the UAE and also worldwide, from Russia to LA to London. And the funny part is, because I'm Syrian passport holder, I couldn't attend my own exhibitions, most of them. There was, I attended, I remember one in Georgia and one in Lebanon and one in Moscow I managed. But yeah, in London, of course, I couldn't. US, Mexico, many European countries, Italy and Netherlands and all that. Again, because of my passport. Now it got better a little bit, of course, after this regime change, and because now I'm a different person completely. So again, this front of art, I'm always being involved in it. I stopped the commercial because my career was picking up a little bit. So my English, that's another thing. I worked on all of these. It's like I created my own ecosystem, not only to survive, but to kind of thrive, and then being able to actually help, or more than helping my family, to repair, because I had to rebuild 2-3 different houses that we lost completely, medical procedures for like a lot of my family members, starting from my brothers to others, managing to, get them. One of them is an immigrant now in Europe, and it was only me. It's not like I didn't have a choice. I had to be 3 or 4 person at the same time. It's like, and the funny part, when I'm with some of my friends or a workspace or anything, and they tell me, you're lucky you're not married, like we have a lot to spend on, or we have a lot of responsibilities. You're single, and then I just don't bother to explain, even because, it's not that complicated, but I just smile and say, okay, good for you. And I'm
I just
enjoying
have
a
a whole
lot.
family.
Yeah, I have like just 29 members I'm responsible for, as simple as that. And I can't get, the love and the affection from my own parents and brothers. I can't see them. I can't feel the good things. It's just like always trying to save somebody's life, or which I don't want to say proud. I don't like this word personally. But yeah, I'm very happy to everything that made me able to do this, because that's, otherwise work and even photography and all that, those are very nice things, but this is the actual value I feel in my life now, reaching 37 years next month. I feel this is good impact, and I'm very lucky to have another opportunity to be able not only again to survive, but to go beyond what I imagined. That because as simple as I remember, my dream was just to get a regular meal, when I was on checkpoint, like just a glass of water for years. I'm not talking about weeks or something. And then now, living exactly on the other side of the river, it's just unbelievable, really, on a daily basis.
Well, first of all, I want to say that you are such a fighter, and you should be proud of yourself, because what you're doing. Huh?
Peaceful fighter, yeah.
Yeah.
Peaceful, yeah.
Yes. I'm saying just. Yeah. A piece. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, because fighter has that negative connotation. But you know, when you had 2 choices, you chose the harder road, and look where it's led you. And you've come so far, and it's very admirable. So I admire you for your strength and your courage and your determination and the love that you have to thrive so you can help your family. That's very admirable.
Thank you very much. And I'm writing a book now about it. I think I'm ready to write a book, because I was always waiting to what's happening in Syria, not being able to talk, of course. But since this regime changed last year, so I felt like, okay, more comfortable, and part of my healing, I guess. Another big part of my life is psychology, actually, because of everything. So I went very strong on psychology, psychiatry as an interest, reading books, attending seminars, watching documentaries, everything related to this, and, about the nervous system, about the energy, the impact of these events on any person, the mind. And I didn't know anything about it. I mean, they don't teach us these important things in school to begin with, and then to experience all of these complicated um, experiences on a 20 years old person who is not violent and very peaceful and like sensitive. I can describe myself. I mean, back then, yeah, the damage was horrible, and but I went very deep into this kind of fields, and I love it, because when I understand something, or starting to understand something, how the mind works, how the body, how the reacted, because I collapsed many times physically and mentally, and then I went up again. It's really interesting. It gives me something maybe to fight for. Like, there is a possibility to repair and heal all the time, because the first thing the traumatized person think about, like, I will never be back normal. This will never be repaired. I mean, starting from a regular, let's say, simple relationship breakup or losing a job, so imagine the level of the other experiences, which is just nobody can comprehend, I think. And until now, I still remember a few flashbacks that I don't remember that I went through, which is showing me now understanding something about my mind, because I started to heal and cleanse, I believe. So another things are coming up which I don't remember, that I know it happened now when I remember it, but I don't remember that I've never thought about this, or I never, sometimes nightmares or visualization, not hallucinating or anything, but I mean memory or anything. But I'm trying to, again, use humor or art to visualize it, to express different things, whether it's writing, photography. I tried with painting as well. I failed. It's not my thing, I think. I would like to learn. But yeah, I think photography helped me a lot to visualize and pick up topics about psychology and feelings in general.
And Khaled, on a day-to-day basis, would you say you have better days or worse days?
Um, be more specific. Day to day, like
I'm
now?
like, no, like when you wake up in the morning, are
Ah,
most
okay.
days like, okay, I can do this, life goes on, or are most days like, oh, the trauma comes back, the hurt comes back, the depression comes
No, no,
back?
no, no.
No.
It's yeah, it's exactly the opposite. Like you mentioned
Okay.
in the beginning, it's like I'm extremely, extremely grateful
Okay.
that I'm alive and safe. So imagine the other good things that I have in my life. I have beautiful cat, a great job, great friends. Again, my family. I'm very happy that I was able to rebuild almost everything and get them better and better. I met my brother in Europe, the refugee, after 14 years. So I left him as a kid. I just met him a few months ago for the first time. I met my sister in Saudi Arabia after 13 years last year. I met her for the first time, her and her daughter. So these things are also traumatizing, but I mean, after these 13, 14 years, uh, and I think I will keep experiencing, because there are two brothers still I didn't see since 2011 until now. Both are in Syria, but in different places. And but I mean, yeah, the amount of I feel like it's like ticking a box or doing something tangible, not just only sending aids or emotional support and all that. But yeah, what I feel every day, it's really a miracle. I know this might sound cheesy to many people, starting from me, if I didn't experience these, but it really, it is to me. It's like I wake up, it's like a movie. Like sometimes if I'm going out from a nightmare or some visual, I really do like take some moments to observe, the environment. Like, oh my God, look, I'm in this beautiful city. I'm going to my beautiful job. I'm so excited about it. I have my car. I have, friends, and I have plans. I have meetings. I have projects. It's just insane. I never imagined, even in the peacetime before the war in Syria, I never imagined that I will be able to live anything similar to this picture. So the fact that I am, and I'm able to travel more and more, connect more with nature. Travel is my thing now, also become as a way of expressing, and I want to explore just more, not just for photography, but explore more places. Actually living life, appreciating every single detail about it. Of course, I have my down days like any human beings, which is part of the fight, but I can say safely, with all these, again, responsibilities and things going on in my life, I can safely say that it's a kind of miracle feeling every morning. That I don't know if I want to describe it happiness or joy or, but it's just feels strange, very strange, like time traveling thing or portaling to another reality or something that deep, which is amazing, to be honest.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is a miracle for sure. Well, our time is coming to an end, and I've enjoyed this conversation very much. But before we go, this podcast, I'm sorry, is for a Western world about Arabs and the
Ah.
Arab world. What is a lasting message that you would like to leave the West with about the region or the people of the region?
Oh, that's, I mean, I didn't mention that in general, I have a big interest in geography, history, and politics. I love it a lot before the war and all that. So I know a lot about the Western kind of culture and media and political structure, I would say, all Europe and the US and Canada. But what I would like to say, I don't know, is it to the people or to governments? Because it's entirely kind of different things. Yeah, I think if I want to say to people, it's just like, don't be afraid of learning more about the Middle East as people, because I feel that most of the people in general, the civilians, they have very less interest in the Middle East, and some of them, they think, let's say, just an example, they think Indonesia is an Arabic country, or Iran is an Arabic country, or they think Morocco is in Europe, or like this level of awareness shows how the Middle East is being perceived, to the public in general, especially in the US and West Europe, I guess. So to the people, just learn more, where you can actually understand that there are a lot of, with all the wars and conflicts and everything bad is happening in the region, but also we have great examples, starting from, again, UAE to Saudi Arabia to many different countries, cities or communities, or scientists, creatives, artists, you name it. Like any other nation, I'm not saying we are special at all or something, but like any other nation, you have ups and downs. And in these last maybe 100 years, unfortunately, the Middle East is on the other side. I mean, the cycle of history, where it's just, being reshaped all the time, full of wars and conflict. But again, anyone can remember Europe in the Dark Ages, and then versus the Middle East was thriving, on science and all that. So this cycle is always, even, the civil war in almost every country, especially the big countries, from the US to Mexico to even Russia and Spain, and I read about them a lot. So I noticed this pattern But we always, of course, look at our time frame, which is not really fair, I would say. So for the civilians, just feel free to maybe explore a bit more. And for the politicians, I think exactly the other uh,
The
advice,
opposite
I would
way?
say. Yeah, because they know much about this. They
Yeah.
know. They don't lack any awareness. But I would say, which is also ridiculous for me to say, of course, but I mean, um, I can't say stop being involved, or ruining things or something, but that's what I hope. I like give this region a chance, maybe. Overall, I'm talking even beyond our time frame. But if I want to summarize, I think, again, reading history, everybody knows that the Middle East is kind of full of natural resources, religion, kind of backgrounds for all the three major religions. So this place is always interesting and under conflict for thousands of years. It was barely left alone from any different, from Holako to Genghis Khan to even Hitler to many, many things. It's not just about now. It's always kind of the same, like all eyes on this region, strategically located, natural, again, resources, religious background where we can convince other soldiers to come die for some cause or, or to die to defend some cause. So this is what keeps this region overall, if we want to zoom out, full of conflict. It's not about the people being aggressive or they want to fight or they want to kill or take revenge. The people who are living here. I didn't choose to be born in Syria or Denmark, or we didn't have an iPad to choose which religion and which gender, which time frame or whatever, and we are being judged because of again the media, like we are backwards. And I mean, this is overall as a mainstream opinion in Europe, and unfortunately the only contact with the Middle Eastern for these people are refugees maybe, and they hear the bad news or like the bad images, and if war like Afghanistan, Iraq, those are connected to very bad emotions, those keywords. While again, in these communities, you have everything else, but nobody is pointing it out, I feel. So I hope, I mean, I can see only there is a major change already now with in general, because of the media, the independent media, the social media did a massive shift, but still needs a lot of time, of course, because this is generation over generation books, and it's very difficult to change somebody's mind, anybody. But I think it's on
Absolutely.
the right track. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been years and years and years of just brainwash, and you know, they've created a narrative that they've wanted to share with the West, and it's going to take time. But yeah, for sure now with mainstream media, less eyes on mainstream media, more independent media, like you said. So I think things are slowly changing. This podcast.
Mhm. Yeah, of
So,
course.
yeah, yeah. Great. Well, I feel like I should have you back in the future, talk about Syria, because I do want to know um, your hope for the country, or now if things are going to change. But that's a whole other conversation. So we're going to have
Yep.
to do part two. Maybe we can do it in person in Dubai one day.
I'm happy to do it. Yeah. If I
Yeah,
can
that would,
fly to the US, awesome.
or I'll come to you. I'm supposed to come to
Okay.
Dubai end of the year. So
Okay,
hopefully we
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, hopefully we can
Amazing.
meet for coffee or something and maybe do an
Very
episode.
excited to do part two. Yeah. Why not?
Awesome. Khaled, where can people find you? On what social media
Oh,
platforms?
just Google my name. You'll find me. I'm everywhere.
Okay,
Website, Instagram, I mean, for my photography or something, LinkedIn for professional connection. Anyway, just type my name and that's it.
perfect. Khaled, thank you so much. This was a great conversation, and yeah, just very touching. But I'm happy for you. I'm happy
Hopefully
of how
positive. Yeah.
far, yeah, of how far you've come, and the life that you're living now. So thank you so much. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, comment, review, all of the good stuff. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.